Hey folks, so yeah, today it's Saturday evening right now, and this day started off, it's kind of a weird day. Started off not that great. I did garage sales in the morning, and unfortunately I didn't end up getting a ton of stuff. But what I did get is kind of ended up being this kind of weird sort of coincidence that would happen in the day. I hit a garage sale first thing, and I don't normally buy new toys. I deal, well, what I consider new toys. I deal primarily with vintage stuff. 1990s is kind of the end of the line for me. In fact, I don't even collect too many of the 1990s. I don't sell a lot of that stuff. I don't really consider that toy line vintage. Some of the clothing, obviously, you consider vintage, but now vintage is considered up into the 2000s. So, you know, I just sound like an old fart, which basically I am. I am very old. But my friend had told me, you know what, if you see any of the early McFarlane figures from the 2000s of sort of rock and roll stuff, pick them up if you're getting them at garage sales. So I did. I bought this one. It is, I think, one of the first lines that McFarlane did. It's Jim Morrison. It's sealed. It's yellowed quite a bit, but still, it's sealed, and it's, you know, a legendary rock star and a great sort of sculptural artist in McFarlane toys. And yeah, so you can't really lose. And the other thing that I got in there was this Silver Surfer model kit. Now, I didn't realize this was from '96. I actually thought it was much newer than that, but it has been opened, but everything is still sealed in baggies inside. It hasn't been put together. And I just bought it because I love Silver Surfer. Like, he is, I think, probably one of my favorite superheroes. You know, as much as a grown man should have a favorite superhero, that would be him. But the really, you know, I asked how much, and she said, I don't know, $10. And I thought it was going to be $10 each, but it turned out to be $10 for both. So I was totally happy, walked away. Again, weird that I would buy that. But you know, I wasn't having, I hit about 15 garage sales, and I didn't get much else. Like, honestly, there was one garage sale over here. I got this really nice old, really worn, probably 10 picture portrait of Queen Victoria. Probably was put out not too long after her death. Original frame, wood paneling back. You can see that back there. Yeah, and there's square head nails. So it's an old piece. It's a bit worn, but I actually kind of like that. It kind of gives it that like haunted feeling in a way. I'm not going to do anything to clean it up. I'm just going to sell it as, now mind you, excuse me, that was only a couple of bucks. So can't really go wrong with that. This here, get that out of the way for now, is a cast iron butcher paper dispenser. Basically, these would be nailed or screwed to the counters at your local butcher, and it would have that big brown paper on there, and you would roll it off and tear it. People want these for their kitchens. They're a great piece. It is cast iron, probably right around the turn of the century. There is a lot of detail in there you can't see, but you know, I'm gonna probably clean that up with a bit of a wire brush. There's some original paint down there, but again, that was $10. I mean, I've sold them for 50 to 100 before, depending on how elaborate they look. So that was it, and I was kind of bummed. I headed home. I went to open the retail store because, as you guys know, if you do subscribe here, I have a retail store. Take a look around. There you go. All its glory. It's Sanford and Son-esque in here at this point. Things are getting a little packed. But I'd had a customer earlier in the week ask me, you know, hey Jay, do you buy toys? Because, you know, I sell them, and he buys a lot of records. And I said, sure, man, bring them in. And he said, there's some old Transformers and some old Star Wars, but a lot of newer movie stuff. Now, I don't really do the newer toys, as I said, but I was like, sure, man, bring them in, whatever, we'll figure something out. And so when he brought in these 4 boxes and tubs over here, which I have sort of spilled out over the floor, you can imagine my surprise to see things like this. an original Slave Boba Fett Slave 1 from The Empire Strikes Back, with the box. Now, the box is beat, but it's all there. It's in, not the best of shape, but still make a nice display piece. There's some marker rating on it, but one side's actually better than the other. It turns out to be the, I think, mostly English side. Yeah, and the Slave 1 there, which, by the way, is complete. It looks like it's missing a piece off the back, but I have that piece and the Han and Carbonite. So that was awesome. I dig deeper into that box, and there is a Jabba the Hutt playset with pretty much, it's complete. Everything's there. There's Jabba. He's got his little hookah pipe right there. And oh man, I'm totally forgetting that guy's name right now. So all the vintage Star Wars guys are screaming at me. But everything's there with his collar. It's complete. So that was awesome. I keep digging. And what do we find? Original Transformers Power Master. Slapdash. It's in there. It's got the original plastic in there. It's got the little lube figure in there as well. Box is in pretty nice shape. Like, that's pretty nice. Dig a little deeper. Out comes this triple changer Astra train. Same thing. Like, really, really great toy. Everything is in there, including the guns, and yeah, it's all there. Then we find this Power Master Optimus Prime. Box is in fantastic shape. Obviously no foam or inserts, but the figure is complete. He's got all his guns and everything in there. So yeah, and you dig deeper and there's an Ultra Magnus, which is pretty much complete. I haven't gone over it completely yet, but like his guns and weapons and all the things are there. Chest plate. So yeah. And then in this box over here, whoops, there was, because that's where these ones came out of, just all of these Transformers over here. There's a vintage jet Scream. There is just a bunch of them. That might be the highlight right there, which it's one of the early production. Oh man, I'm totally drawing a blank on the ultimate evil guy from Transformers right now, but it was made to look like a Walter P38 gun. It's all there. I mean, it's a little loose, but the joints are there. Metal feet, a couple other metal parts. That was in there. There's another bag with some more vintage Transformers in there. Just that's there. I'm saying there a lot. I think this might be a later one, maybe a Gen 2 version of the jet screen, but here's the original right there. A couple of other guys. So yeah, I'm at this point like going, wow, okay, so there's some stuff here that, yeah, I definitely do want. In terms of vintage stuff, more vintage stuff, here were some wrestling belts. These foam belts were like in the late 80s and 1990s. There's three of them: the Tag Team Championship belt, the World Wrestling Champion belt, and the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion belt. They're all foam. These ones are a little bit worn out. They're not in terrible shape, but they're certainly not mint by any stretch. But still, nice pieces to have. Let's see some more vintage items over here. So these guys, I can't remember their actual names. They're like Ugly Cuddlies or something like that, but they're basically like mini versions of the My Pet Monster. You got their little chains. There's another one kicking around somewhere. I can't see it right now. And then, yeah, that one. So this is Growing Up Skipper, which is a bit of a notorious doll. It's 1974 there. Basically, it's a young girl who essentially transforms when you move her arms a certain way. She gets taller and her chest expands. I don't even want to get into the details of how that happens. And yeah, so it was sort of thing. And again, Barbie gets a lot of flack for body imagery, which, you know, is probably, you know, on point. But here's something like this, that like if you're a young girl and you're going through changes and you don't have anybody to talk to, here's a doll that sort of, you know, normalizes it for you. Hopefully it makes you feel better. So I think that was fairly progressive. You know, I could be wrong on that, but either way, it's a pretty rare toy. You just don't find it. And this one hasn't come out of the box from what I can tell. The box is a bit crunched at the top, but that's a cool vintage piece. I don't do a lot of girl toys. I have some Barbie stuff, but it doesn't really sell that well for me. But then again, I don't really try a lot of that stuff online like I do some of the other things. More vintage things. What did we get? Oh, this is like awesome. I gotta lay this one out. Please excuse the bad camera work. It's a 1983 Hulk Rules vintage single stitch shirt, and it's for obviously Hulk Hogan, but it's got that ripped back. It came that way because, you know, he would tear his shirt off. So I love that. That is just a fantastic piece too. Another one of those mini My Pet Monsters and a Rainbow Bright. At this point, no, I'm lying. I was going to say there isn't really much more that I consider truly vintage, but there is. There was a bag of mixed figures. Most of these guys were like wrestling guys. And there is King Hiss. Now he's complete. He's got his arms, shield, staff. But the rest of these guys are just sort of loose figures in there. He-Man figures. There's a couple of vintage Ninja Turtle stuff. And then sort of, I think the final, what I consider vintage stuff, were these Mad Balls. Now, I love these. These, when I was a kid, were awesome. They're foam. They don't survive very well over the years. Most of the ones I've ever come across are like this one. It's got chewed over time. That guy looks pretty good. But what's really great about this is that it had one of the backing cards. Now, obviously, it doesn't have the plastic front to it, but just having the backing card's cool because you can see all the original ones on there. They're such cool toys. Like, they really were. It's funny because I remember a kid on my street had a bat that you could put all your Mad Balls in. Now, I haven't seen that before or since, so that's, you know, fond little memory. And I think the last vintage piece is these guys here. It's the John and Ponch from the Chips TV show in the 70s. These are little figures put out by Mego. Pretty cool. They got their helmets and stuff like that, so that's kind of nice. At that point is where I kind of have a learning curve, because I, like I said, don't deal with new stuff. But this is where that Silver Surfer toy over there and the Jim Morrison toy, kind of the coincidence starts, because in these boxes was a sealed version of that Silver Surfer toy that still has the $5 price tag on it that when they originally bought it back in the 90s. There's a sealed Thing toy. Now, these were put up by Toy Biz, and they're snapped together models. Here's a Thor sealed. There's a Spider-Man there. Somewhere I think there's a Captain America, but I'm not 100%. Yeah, there is down there, Captain America. Sealed again. You know, I'm learning about this stuff. It's not stuff that I'm super familiar with. Some of these I do know. Obviously, I know the Star Trek Next Generation. There are tons of those out there. This is kind of harder to find. It's, you know, the Battle Corps G.I. Joe was a later one, put out in the mid-90s, I think. This is Major Blood, and it's got the nice UPC free offer on there. On the card, still in good shape. What else? Second generation Transformer on the card. That's still pretty cool. And X-Men, one of the X-Men figures from the 90s. I don't know what that is. I thought it was like Lady Death from the comic book series, but it's Lady Demon, so I don't know. Maybe related, could not be. But where things start getting really interesting is things like this. Now, I'm familiar with the NECA stuff, but I don't deal with it a lot. You know, friends have cool pieces on display and things like that. But here's a clan leader. Now this one has been, the Predator clan leader, it's been opened, but it's all there, and it comes with the original box, and all the stuff is inside. So that's kind of nice. Let's move over here and see what other stuff we had. Another sealed from the, I don't even know when. This series completely not familiar with. It's Justice League, but there's Plastic Man in there. Now, Alex Ross did the art for this sculpt. Where is it? There it is. He's one of my favorite comic book artists. I love the stuff he did with Marvel. God, I'm so nerding out. And yeah, here's another Superman, similar kind of series from DC. Really great toys. Like, these are toys made for adults, essentially, for display. But again, here's another one. First appearance. So this is the Flash. I guess they must have done a whole series of first appearances. This one I'm probably going to end up keeping because I just love Devo so much. And it is, again, by NECA and sealed on the card or plastic pack or whatever you call it. Yeah, so, you know, and there is money in these things. I was completely happy with the deal just because of the vintage stuff that came with it. But, you know, this stuff is good stuff to have. Not the sort of stuff I normally deal with. But here's the interesting thing about dealing with stuff you don't normally deal with. It's an education. I will spend time looking these up. I will see other ones. I will learn. So next time that I'm out and about and I come across a bunch, and in the past I wouldn't know, well, I don't know if that's a good price or not. Well, now I probably will. Here's another one from NECA. This is Ralphie from the Christmas Story. You shoot your eye out with that thing. Yeah, so that's on the card again too. In here is just a whole plethora of more modernish Star Wars stuff. There's the stuff from the mid-90s there. That's actually a really cool set, the Minox set. A bunch of figures from the 90s, going right up until the new stuff. There's things from, oops, what is that one there? Yeah, Revenge of the Sith figures. There's sneak preview figures from Revenge of the Sith, so before the movie came out. Not a huge amount of value in those yet. You know, I think eventually they will. I have a box of the 1990s figures stashed away someplace. Probably when I pass away, my son will have them and go, why did Dad keep these? But yeah, so there was a couple more things in here. Some more wrestling figures. A couple of these guys. There's Giant Hulk. I know nothing about. This is, I believe, Giant Man. Yeah, amazing sculpt. Like, that is just, looks incredible. And this is a super heavy toy. So, Ninja Turtle figures. Another guy from Demolition. Is that Roddy Piper? Oh, it's Hot Rod. There he is, Roddy Piper. Another bag with more sort of modern figures, and there's Iron Man. There's some Ninja Turtles. I think they're probably later Ninja Turtles. Oh no, I see one that's probably from the 80s in there. Okay, yeah, so that, you know, these were kind of interesting. So he actually mentioned something to me about this one, saying this is kind of a good one. It's Kurt Cobain. It's a McFarlane figure again, NECA one. And it's, I think it's McFarlane who did the sculpt on it, yeah. And it's his first figure from 2006. Pretty sought after, I had no idea. The other one that was in there that was really cool for me is the Donnie Darko, because I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. And it has everything complete in there too. Again, another one that's, I haven't done a ton of research on, but it seems fairly desirable. There's like a vampire Batman, and then there's like another Iron Man. And there's a couple more of those little bags kicking around, but I didn't bring them. And then there was like a Batmobile right there. So again, I think a 90s Batmobile. So yeah, that I think is pretty much everything. So as you see, my day started off not that great, but then ended up being really good. We hummed and hawed over the price for a while, and I think basically we came to $500 plus 100. I think it was 100 credit, maybe 75, I can't remember, credit in the store, because he would just, and he took like $75 or $100 worth of records. So yeah, we both walked away happy. We both got, you know, for the NECA stuff, it's going to be a learning experience for me. So it's probably, you know, how much do you pay for education? What's it worth? And just the vintage stuff in here is great. Like, the Slave One, I'm not going to lie, that probably will not hit the sales floor. That probably is going into my collection. Because I have a Slave One, but I don't have the box. So that was kind of nice. And yeah, so just goes to show your day can start off being pretty crap and can turn out to be one of your better days you've had in months. So yeah, you know, just always keep your eye out there looking for stuff, and I hope you guys are able to get some cool finds this weekend too. Tomorrow I have the Ancaster Nostalgia show that I'm going to. That's Sunday, so I'll probably put a video up midweek if I get anything really cool there. All right, if you guys could like and subscribe, that would be super cool, and I hope you all have a good week. Bye.